We then move on to AEW Dynamite. Also, May 13th, 2020. It took them 7 days. The golf cart spot is already in the intro video. Complete with wacky video effects, like this paint splatter or whatever they do. Good for them. Lance Archer and Jake Roberts come out for a promo, but first, Lance Archer has to commit his 93rd assault and battery before my eyes on TV, and there are never any ramifications or repercussions. This is stupid. I'm going to say it every week. So Jake says he has been asked to apologize for last week's antics, and as soon as she comes out and kisses my ass, he says, then I'll issue my apology. Inside this area here, and he points to the ring in the immediate area, this is no man's land for any of you jerks. And as for women, their place is in the home. They should be cooking. They should be wiping babies' butts. And occasionally, if it's very cold outside, she can keep me warm. He says, I have a woman who comes and sees me, but she makes sure that I have been watching Lance's work, because it makes me very excited.
Oh my God. This guy is such a fucking creep.
He's the best evil creep.
But that line was like the fucking creepiest line. It was just... Yeah. Oh my God, he's the greatest.
I get aroused watching Lance Archer, or Lance Storm, maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
Murder people. Cody, he says, you got nowhere to run, no more excuses. And as he says this, a very loud engine begins to rev. And Jake cuts himself off. What the hell is that? And they cut to the outside of Daily's place, where Cody is there in his big ass customized Ford F-150 with his logo all over the thing. He drives it into the arena. The best part about all this was Jake still had the mic and was doing play-by-play. And as Cody drives his truck into a sporting arena, Jake asks, and in his tone, it sounds like a perfectly reasonable question, what the hell, man? So Cody and Lance have a big-ass brawl. It was almost a match in and of itself. Eventually, Jake is encouraging Lance the entire time to kick his ass and take him out now. But after it went like 5 minutes, finally they go to a stalemate, and Jake decides this is enough, and he pulls Lance away so that neither of the wrestlers has to back down from the fight. It was good. It again went a little. It didn't need to be a 5-minute
brawl. It was good, but the thing that I have mixed feelings about this, because they start brawling, and honestly, they did not work that well together. It was everything was just a little bit off, and when it was over, I was there was a part of me that was kind of disappointed in it, but then there was the other part of me that thought it's supposed to look raw. It's not supposed to look like a traditional wrestling match or brawl or anything like that. I mean, this fucking guy put a snake on the other guy's wife's genitalia and humped her. I mean, this fucking guy should be furious just coming out here and just being a wild man. So, Cody, yes, he did need a promo, but I presume he's going to get his big promo next week. I mean, maybe not. They're teasing that Jake and Arn are going to do the promo, but Cody absolutely should cut a promo next week on this guy.
I think we got 2 weeks, don't they?
Even if it's backstage. That was May 23rd.
Oh, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah, so it's a week. They got one more show.
Tonight on Dynamite, Brody Lee versus Christopher Daniels. Follow-up, by the way, to the months-long angle where Daniels was teased as the Exalted One. Or not just the follow-up, but the payoff. Chris Jericho versus Pineapple Pete. MJF's first match since his injury. Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford versus Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander in a 4-way. Proud and Powerful versus Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. And the Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends. But before any of that, we have a hype video for literally the entire tag team division. All the way back when AEW was first announced at the press conference at that pool in Las Vegas, where the Bucks said they wanted to have the best tag team division in wrestling. And so we built up to Dynamite and the tag team tournament where the Bucks were knocked out in the first round in a giant upset. Then they came back to earn a title match. They lost again to Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. And after that match, Nick Jackson is attacked. The Bucks have been sidelined. So in that absence, other teams have been stepping up. One of those teams is the Best Friends, who've been climbing the rankings and defeating Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson have not been seen, but the Exalted One has continued to recruit new members to the Dark Order. And of course, there's also the Jurassic Express, who are undefeated in 2020. There's also Private Party, Proud and Powerful, SCU, the Lucha Brothers. Puts over all these teams as serious threats and big stars, and when this is over, it's like, holy shit, I can't wait for this tag team division. This ruled. We get the Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends. The best spot in this match, the Best Friends have the Lizard outside, and they go to give him the big double suplex, because he's a giant, it takes two of them. They do the big double suplex on the floor, and this leads to them getting up and doing the hug spot on the floor, including the dramatic camera zoom out.
They always do the Okada thing for this big hug.
They do. But in this one, what made it extra great is after the dramatic zoom out, they did a dramatic zoom in just in time to catch Jungle Boy doing a dive to the ropes onto both of them. It was timed perfectly and looked awesome. Oh, the other highlight of this match, actually, the bigger highlight, frankly. There's this big giant four-way, everyone's down, and Orange Cassidy decides it's time to make his move.
Oh, my God. So first off, I got to talk about this because I got an update. So Orange Cassidy's got his mask on, and finally when he could take no more, for whatever reason, he takes his mask off. And he starts to make his way towards the ring. And all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, Phoenix flies in with this one-leg Karate Kid rider kick to the fucking head, and he kills Orange Cassidy. I fucking saw this and I thought, oh my God, he's got to be dead.
He just kicked him right in the head.
He fucking kicked him so hard in the head. And so I watched it again and again, and I'm like, dude. So the update is that, in fact, he almost killed Orange Cassidy. Luckily, Orange Cassidy does not have a concussion, so I guess he'll be on the show next week. But Orange Cassidy could not see him coming, and Phoenix, for whatever reason, kicked him right in the fucking back of the head.
Well, I can confirm. That's what my eyes saw.
Jesus Christ, that was fucking brutal. So he's dead.
So if you go to Google right now and you type in Liu Kang kick, it's Liukang kick, you will see Liu Kang for the Mortal Kombat video doing this exact kick to Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile. It's the exact same thing. Phoenix turned into a video game character, came flying from off screen, and Liu Kang'd Orange Cassidy's head off.
Well, unfortunately, Orange Cassidy is a human being, and so he was almost killed.
It was a fatality, that is for sure. So, as if this isn't enough, then 17 things have to happen at once. MJF jumps the guardrail, posts Jungle Boy. Chuck Taylor pins Jungle Boy with an awful waffle. Also, Wardlow is murdering Marco Stunt for reasons I don't know. There was too much stuff going on at once in this all.
Because he's Marco Stunt, dude.
Well, that's... You know what? I hadn't thought of that. That's a good reason. But there was still too much stuff going on at once. But it already is 24 hours later. It already doesn't matter. All anyone's ever going to remember about this match is the death of Orange Cassidy.
Well, I will say that there was too much going on, but they set up Jungle Boy MJF, the Casino Battle Royal, the Orange Cassidy match next week with Phoenix. Mm-hmm. The Luchasaurus Wardlow match for somewhere down the road. That was a lot of matches they set up in one segment.
That's true, but if they had slowed it down, they could have set them up better.
There ain't no time for slowing down, Vinny. Are you kidding me? Got 2 hours here.
Alex Marvez attempts to interview Jon Moxley about Brody Lee. Moxley just storms by him, has nothing to say.
Well, the key is his belt has been stolen, and he's very angry. That's a $29,000 belt.
It's a very expensive belt. Penelope Ford versus Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander.
I believe $29,400 is the exact cost of that belt. That's almost how much the Texarkana title cost.
I don't have any belts that cost that much. I can verify that. So they had a long collection of completely random pointless moves with nothing leading to much of anything. Most of it looked good. There was a Poison Rana, which honestly watching, well, I can't say live, but when I watched it, the Poison Rana to Chris Statlander looked even more brutal than the kick to Orange Cassidy. She landed right on top of her brain, nowhere near, I believe it was Penelope Ford's legs, so she could not have been controlled or protected. It was terrifying. So Baker goes after Statlander, and outside the ring puts her in the lockjaw and won't let go. which is all fine and dandy, but it means she's out of the ring and she can do nothing to affect what's happening in the ring, where Shida gets the win, pinning Ford with a running knee. And Baker is still putting Statlander in this hold. And so when it was over, Shida came into this match ranked number 1, and then she won. So I wasn't sure what this actually accomplished, other than, I guess, it's setting up Baker and Statlander as an item now.
Well, I mean, Shida's getting a title match.
Well, they announced that later.
Yes.
If they had said this is a top contenders match, then okay.
Well, they used one of those terms about how it may have championship implications or something.
Well, yeah, then it did 10 minutes later.
Yes.
So, anyway. Shug D does a promo. Says, Shug D, that has been my name for the better part of 16 years. Chris Jericho doesn't respect that name. He calls me Pineapple Pete. And at first I was insulted. But since he started calling me Pineapple Pete, life has been sweet. And he's got a big party going. He's drinking cocktails. He's got music. He's dancing. But tonight he says, no more insults. That was the build for Pete.
You know, it's too bad because if wrestling were running right now, he'd be getting so many bookings as Pineapple Pete.
Oh, well, you can still sell the merch.
But yeah, merch is about it for right now.
They got to do. He and they have to do their best to keep Pineapple Pete hot for as long as they can, which the end of the show didn't help. So yes, Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose officially booked for Double or Nothing. Proud and Powerful versus Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy. So it's one of those matches where they do a long brawl. It settles down into a tag match. There's the heat on Kenny, a hot tag to Matt, and then everyone does 700,000 moves, in the middle of which, of all things, Matt Hardy, who has a seemingly endless library of old personas and weapons in their arsenals to bring back, he goes back to braided hair, TNA, cold-blooded Matt Hardy and breaks out the ice pick.
Is that what it was?
Which I am the only one who recognized.
Yeah, well, yes.
Me and Matt, apparently.
And I think with this match is one of those matches where they start doing the near falls, and when I'm taking my notes, I don't write down everything because you don't need to, but there comes a point where I'm like, okay, they're going to be doing the finish here soon, so I'm going to start writing down some of these near falls. And then I kept writing for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then
exactly,
I was like,
yes.
fuck, dude, how many fucking moves? It wasn't that it was bad, but I do see this more often in AEW than any other promotion, and that is you hit your crescendo, but then you go for like 3 more minutes of near falls. And this just felt like it went too long.
There was a lot
Again,
of
it wasn't bad, but it would have been better if they would have ended at the time that I felt they should have ended. Because it is my universe that I live in here.
Yes. So the best part of the match actually didn't involve anyone in the match. It involved, as usual, Sammy Guevara. Last week, Sammy Guevara was run down by a golf cart and killed. And even though by the end of that show he was on his feet celebrating with his friends, he was clearly badly injured.
Well, it's not until you cool down that you realize all of this pain and swelling.
Yes, exactly.
Adrenaline wears off of being chased by a golf cart.
Right. So out comes Sammy. He's badly limping. He's in a neck brace. He is on a crutch, and he's holding a chair because he needs all of these things to just to walk. But even though he is clearly less than 100%, he's charitably 20%. He still put his gear on.
Oh, yeah.
That was so awesome.
What was really awesome was when he gets in the ring,
and Matt
and he's got a chair and a neck brace and everything, and Matt just grabs him and boots him, and he gives him this twist of fate that, like, I can't even explain. He basically, his head didn't even touch the ground because he did a full front flip, laid out.
Yes.
It looked like he goddamn near killed himself, but at least this time I wasn't concerned immediately that the guy was dead. Takes his fucking great bump and he's dead. And then they do more near falls, and finally Matt gives the twist of fate off the middle rope to Ortiz. Davis insisted it's an ace crusher, but it was a twist of fate, and that was the finish.
So I just love it because Sammy is such a fabulous douchebag. Because he comes out for revenge on these guys who ran him over with the golf cart. And he's going to look good doing it, too. He's going to put his gear on to show his abs. And he limps and limps and limps. And he just climbs in the ring. And as soon as he gets in the ring, Matt just walks over and grabs him and beats his ass.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the most ineffectual attack you ever saw.
That's why he's so great.
Oh, he's the best. He's just the best. except MJF. We'll get to him. Taz interviews Darby Allin. I don't know where this is going, but I love it.
Well, it sounds like Taz has been listening to this show and you.
Yeah.
Because he's basically cutting your promo.
It's the story, Brian. I told you it's what happened. So they announced that Darby is one of the participants in the casino ladder match. And Taz says, Darby Allin, I owe you an apology. I am sorry for the way I keep repeating how you lost to Cody. And specifically, I apologize for reminding you of the way you lost, how you hit Cody and slid onto your back, and Cody pinned you with a basic amateur wrestling move, a tilt. I'm laughing my ass off. And again, Taz twists this non-apology apology into trying to explain to Darby that he knows about wrestling, he can help. And Darby stands up and just says, I know what a tilt is. I placed third in the state of Idaho in amateur wrestling. And Taz says, well, okay, I didn't know that. And Darby storms out, still moody.
Taz should have said, well, if I'd been in your corner, you would have come in first.
That would have been better, actually, yes.
Maybe that's next week.
They finally explain this casino ladder match. It's a Money in the Bank match with timed entry. So whoever gets the briefcase first wins, and if you're the ninth guy...
It's a Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
but it can end at any time.
Yes, if you're the ninth guy and somebody climbs that ladder in 30 seconds, too bad for you.
Yes.
So, yes, it's every 90 seconds with 9 guys in the ring, or 9 guys in the match. So the ninth guy, if they play by these rules to the letter, will enter 10.5 minutes into the match.
Well, I mean, they need to hammer home that it is a casino battle royal.
That's true.
And it is all about, or it's a casino ladder match, and it's all about gambling here.
It is, yes.
If you go in first, then you have an opportunity to win immediately, you and the other guy. You could beat his ass, climb up, and get it, okay?
Yeah.
But if nobody can do that, if nobody can win, and you happen to go in last, you are fresh, and everyone else is all fucked up.
Yes.
So you got to make a decision. When's the best time to go in? And they haven't explained exactly how.
I would assume it would be a random draw. They didn't
Sure.
say. I mean, that's more gambling there. But yes, it is. That is. When I first thought about it, it sounded wacky, and I did some bad math. I confess. I was like, that's going to take 3 minutes. What's the point? And then I did the math again. I was like, no, it'll take 10 minutes. I still don't understand why it has to be 9 guys and 90 seconds when you can do 8 guys in 2 minutes and do basically the same thing. But whatever. Lexi interviews Hikaru Shida. So Shida's cutting a bad promo in bad English. And we've talked about how the imperfect English has been effective on NXT for Kushida and Tozawa. And it wasn't working for her. And I was trying to figure out why that was. And I decided by the end it's just that this is a bad promo in any language. Because even when Nyla Rose shows up and Shida doesn't talk anymore, her body language was also horrible. So
this whole segment was a fail, a swing and a miss, as we say.
Yeah.
Nyla shows up, wants to say congratulations. She hits her with the stick, but she swings it so slow. It's the lamest stick shot. Shida goes down, and then Nyla says, I found your kendo stick, bitch. And she looks right in the camera and smiles and walks off. And I was like, this is the kind of thing that I see on WWE television, and it's like a bad high school play.
That's exactly what this was.
Yes, this was bad.
Let's not gloss over this. Nyla Rose, the native beast, has a long history of attacking innocent people and rendering them inert, putting them through furniture, doing all sorts of violent things. When she comes in smiling, and Hikaru Shida stands there, arms down, mouth agape, leaning in, chin open, basically saying, put your fist right here and knock me out. So Nyla comes in and says some smart-ass line when she first gets there. And then she produces a stick. And I don't even know where, frankly, the stick came from. But not only is the delivery of the stick slow, Brian, but first she must raise the stick far up over her head. And then slowly bring it down on Shida. And she just stands there, staring at it. It was bad. It was a bad, bad, bad segment. MJF versus Lee Johnson. Yeah, my only complaint about this, and I know we've mentioned it before, but it really, really noticed it here. They fucked with MJF's music. It was so awesomely terrible.
Dude, we talked about this. This change happened weeks ago.
For some reason, he hasn't been on the show. I guess is why it was fresh to me this week. But it's almost like they took the same song and made it listenable. Whereas before it was just super obnoxious and irritating, which is perfect for him.
Yeah, we don't want it listenable. We want it to be douchey.
I want it to be nails on a chalkboard bad. So we talk about MJF's promos a lot. He's also a very good wrestler. There's a great squash. He destroyed this man.
This was the best, and granted, it was just a squash match, so it's just him doing his stuff, but this was like the best I think he's ever looked in AEW. He looked like he was in the best shape, which is kind of amazing since he'd been in lockdown in New York. But he looked great. Everything he did looked great. Smashed this guy. He's so cocky. Mm-hmm. All the audience there. Which, by the way, I was told that this was taped last week.
Oh, really?
They went live, and then they taped this show the next day.
I see. Okay.
And
that's actually good. That's very good to do.
Funny, by the way, that you had no idea, but that's another story entirely. But anyway, so they taped the show last week. Same number of people in the crowd, but I don't know what happened. The crowd was much more lively this week.
It felt to me like because this building is very big. It's a big, giant concert arena. And it felt to me like they moved people into the upper deck.
They seem to separate them more on this day.
Yeah, there's more noise coming from the rafters and echoing. That's my best guess as to what happened. So, yes, Max destroyed this guy. It also helped that Lee Johnson's very small. Max is very thick and muscular and in great athletic shape. He's not the biggest man on the roster.
You know what's funny, by the way, is last Wednesday, they had all of the wrestlers really close together. And a lot of people were talking about the lack of social distancing, even if you did all get tested, because testing isn't perfect, blah, blah, blah. So the next day, they separated everybody more, which I guess may have been because of the social distancing criticism, but whatever. The point was, it actually sounded like a more full building with the same number of people scattered out more.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's good. Yeah. So Max does a double underhook shoulder breaker, which I have never seen before. And even better than being a new innovative move, it totally leads into and slickly transitions into his finish, the salt of the earth, the Fujiwara armbar. It's beautiful wrestling here for this 2-minute squash. Then Max has a promo, which of course is even better than his wrestling. He knows he has ring rust. He's been feeling pretty stiff, right, Lee? I laughed. He says he still needs another tune-up match. He saw that Marco Stunt has an open contract, and he put his name on that dotted line. He's going to beat Marco Stunt because he's better than you, and you know it.
That was a match that I saw over WrestleMania weekend, where in the middle of the match, I just said, I have to wrestle Marco Stunt. It was that match, MJF Marco Stunt, and it was really good.
I suspect
so. This match will be great.
I'm already envisioning MJF's reaction to Marco's offense. It's going to be great. Chris Jericho versus Pineapple Pete. The best part of this match is Pineapple Pete's entrance video, which is a series of pineapples and sunglasses.
I thought the best part was Pineapple Pete comes out for this match, clearly the underdog.
Yes.
And Jericho still comes out with 5 guys.
That's also true.
And a baseball bat.
And a baseball bat, as we will learn. Sammy is back, still in his neck brace, still singing along to the song. Pete gets 1 minute of furious offense, but as he charges across the ring, Jericho lands one move. It's the Judas effect, and he wins. And then Jericho cuts a promo. Now that the threat of Pineapple Pete has been vanquished, he begins, it is time to move on to the Inner Circle versus the Elite.
He says, I'm not sure the Elite even exists anymore. We haven't seen half their guys for 2 months. Hangman Page quit the business and is bushwhacking in the forests of North Carolina picking berries. I laughed so hard at that line.
Because it's
bushwhacking in the forests of North Carolina picking berries.
The last I saw of Hangman Page, he had declared he was quitting to go get drunk in the woods. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, Matt and Nick are sitting at home pouting about how great the Inner Circle and Le Champion are. We're going to give the Elite the chance to get their shit together. His favorite word, shit. Face the Inner Circle one more time. While the world reacts to coronavirus, I believe the first person during lockdown to actually say the word coronavirus on one of these shows. Inner Circle acts. And while history is standing still worldwide, we're writing history. There's going to be a stadium stampede match. A brawl in an 80,000-seat football stadium, which, by the way, is right next door to Daly's place. Lick your wounds, massage your bruised egos. We're challenging you at Double or Nothing to Stadium Stampede. In the meantime, we'll sit here and wait your response.
I must correct you quickly. In the meantime and in between time.
Yes.
We'll stay here.
Yes.
The Ed Whalen shout out.
Yes.
She says, "We've got all night." And just then a familiar buzzing is heard as Vanguard 1 enters the arena, returning. Very nice of Vanguard 1, returning the stolen Inner Circle t-shirt from like 3 months ago. And Jericho says, "I'm very happy you returned that. I had warrants out for your arrest in 7 states for grand larceny. But I assume you're here to represent the Elite, so I need to know, does the Elite accept our challenge for Stadium Stampede?" So knowing this show is not live, this makes a lot more sense, because we had a lot of shots from Vanguard 1's viewpoint. And I did not think this drone was capable of doing live shots to TV. So we see Vanguard 1's viewpoint of Jericho with the words, "We accept," flashing on the screen. I guess that's enough for Jericho to see. He reminds us all that he had invited Vanguard 1 to join the Inner Circle, but now it is too late. We've rescinded the invitation. We already have a 6th member of the Elite, he said. Oops. It's our brother Floyd. And Floyd has a message from the Inner Circle, and it's this. And Floyd is Jericho's baseball bat. He swats Vanguard 1 out of the sky, and they all destroy the drone 5-on-1 with a bat, shattered to pieces. It was carnage. This drone is ruined. This is not going to be fixed and back next week. They lay the Inner Circle shirt on the shards of the drone. They all cut passionate promos on the drone. Matt Hardy comes out to mourn his friend, and the Inner Circle scatter. There's 5 of them, and they have a bat.
Yes.
But they're still cowards.
I love, like, 95% of what Matt Hardy does, but I gotta say, when they destroyed the drone, and the drone's in ruins, and Sammy Guevara flips off the ruins of the drone, that was like the peak for me, when Sammy flipped it off. He flipped off the ruins of a drone.
Yes.
And it was like a camera shot from the drone's viewpoint or something. It was just so wacky. I loved it. It should have ended there. Because when Matt Hardy, who was already in a match earlier, he just limps down to the ring and 5 dudes with a bat all flee. Then Matt has to get in the ring and cradle the ruins like his pet died.
His fallen friend.
It was way too wacky for me. It was way too wacky. They should have just ended with Sammy flipping off the drone. Because that's what set up Sammy and Matt. That's all you needed to do. We didn't need Matt cradling a broken drone and everybody fleeing from him.
Well, Brian, I don't know what to tell you, because this is Damascus Matt Hardy, and you're going to get wacky stuff like this all the time.
Well, sure. I mean, most of it's totally fine, but that was too much for me.
So changing costumes in an ice chest you were okay with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Vinny, I was okay with that.
All right.
I can believe he put his clothes in there.
Well, I can believe
the idea that these guys hate Matt Hardy and they all ran away from him, and that he cried over a $400 drone or whatever. I don't know what it cost, but
they got what they came for. But Vanguard 1 has been a key factor in the resurgence of Matt Hardy's career.
Couldn't do it, Vinny.
All right. I'm sorry for you. Next week on AEW Dynamite, MJF versus Marco Stunt. Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts go face to face. Ray Phoenix versus Orange Cassidy. John Moxley versus 10 of the Dark Order. As in the guy named 10, not like 10 dudes. And Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy. And also just announced, in a very clumsily edited in thing, at Double or Nothing, Mike Tyson was the TNT title to the Cody Lance Archer winner. Your main event, Christopher Daniels versus Brody Lee. Brody comes out, he's wearing the AEW belt. He insists on being introduced as the self-declared AEW World Champion. So they're doing this match. It is very slow and plodding until Daniels makes his comeback. And Daniels makes his comeback, and then 10 jumps in the apron, and SCU's involved. There's a chair in the ring. There's a giant brawl with all the Dark Order and Colt Cabana. They're all in the ring doing stuff. Now, yes, as the announcers went out of their way, tripping over themselves to point out, nobody ever touched Christopher Daniels. Nobody ever touched Brody Lee. Therefore, none of this is a disqualification, and in their words, it's a good call by the referee. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Because what happened was, because there's a dozen guys fighting in the ring, Chris Daniels takes his eye off the ball. He's watching them. He turns around and gets booted in the face. And not lead to the finish, they kept wrestling, and Daniels made a comeback, but he was put at a severe disadvantage due to this illegal activity. At the very least, they should have stopped the match and restarted it.
Hey, listen, the rule's dumb. But it's a rule in every promotion, and I hate it in every promotion. But, I mean, I didn't like it, but, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a stupid rule, but as stupid as the rule was, they did make sure nobody touched any of the competitors. So at least
they followed their stupid rule.
Yes.
So Daniels eventually hits the Angel's wings. Brody kicks out at 1, and that obviously was the key point of the match, because shortly thereafter, he hits a discus lariat and wins. Brody Lee does. So he is still the self-declared AEW World Champion. And that ends the SCU versus Dark Order feud, I assume. So Brody Lee gets in the ring. All the creepers come out and get in the ring. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is way too obvious. Jon Moxley's going to take his mask off and beat their ass. And of course, they're smarter than me. Jon Moxley's not one of the guys in the masks. He comes in through the stadium, through the arena. He meets creepers one by one, beats all their asses. He gets in the ring. He's beating the guys in the ring. Brody Lee has the last creeper, throws him into the ring to take a bullet. He takes the DDT and gets laid out. And then Brody leaves with 10 carrying the belt. And of course, Moxley's just furious about all this. He gets his big promo. He says he can admire someone's guts. He can admire someone seizing the opportunity, but he will not suffer disrespect. He will not suffer fools. And Mr. Brody Lee, you have made a very foolish decision, and you'll pay for it with interest. He promised a hailstorm of violence at Double or Nothing, and says Brody Lee may find that his AEW career is over before it even starts.
Excellent promo.
Jon Moxley's a very good promo for those of you who are new to this.
No shit, and wrestler, and personality.
Yes.
Yes, he's excellent.
He's outstanding.
So there you go.
Well,
that was a show.
It is the show, and it is time to vote. Now, Brian, you recall I really, really hated last week's NXT episode and penciled in AEW as the winner this week to remind myself.
I warned you.
To remind myself NXT was playing from behind. It had ground to make up from last week.
I warned you about this, Vinny.
Well, no, I don't regret anything, because I am happy to say that NXT was so good this week, it overcame that margin and was still the better show this week.
Well, I would wholeheartedly agree that NXT was the better show this week, so they are getting my vote. I loved that NXT show.
What a fantastic show.
I thought it was the best NXT show in a long, long time. And I enjoyed AEW, as I do every week. But the question is, which was the better show? Mm-hmm. And this week, the better show was NXT.
Yes, NXT was clearly the better show. There's not a knock on AEW. It was a show every bit as good as AEW's usual standards. NXT was just a Grand Slam home run.
Yes, it was. So there you go, everybody. That's the voting.